Welcome to Naked Faith, where we take off the masks, drop the performances, and get honest about what it really means to follow Jesus. I'm Ron, and these are my amazing co-hosts, Grace and Michelle. And together we're creating a space for real conversations, real stories, and real encounters with a love that never gives up. No agendas and no religious hype. Just real people sharing how God met them in the messy middle and pointing to one truth. Jesus still transforms lives. So whether you're walking strong or hanging on by a thread, you're welcome here. This is Naked Faith. So let's get into it. All right. Well, welcome back. You guys may not realize we did take a 2-week break over the Christmas. Although we did have a recording in there that just got released. But today we have another guest, Vivian Cumins, who is an author. I think you called it a glammy.
Yes, I'm a glammy.
A glammy?
Yep. My daughter says that's glamorous granny to my 5 grandkids.
Okay, great.
I love that.
Awesome. And so you are a retired federal worker, and you are now an author, and you also have a podcast of your own.
I do.
You do? Good. So I will let you tell us more about you.
Oh, thank y'all so much for having me. It's good to see you all again. I'm Vivian Cumins, and I'm recently retired. So I have been retired officially now since September. I served half of my career. I had almost 27 years. Half of my career was with the Air Force. The other half was with the Forest Service. And as you all know, last year was a little different year for a lot of people. And my agency offered an early retirement. And so I was blessed to be able to retire about 10 years early, and receive a pension. So, it's kind of funny because I'd been telling my husband for 5 years that God's going to call me out of the government and that I'm not going to make it to 62. And he's been telling me, baby, don't you dare quit your job. You've got a retirement coming. You got a pension. You got to keep working for it. And I'm like, I'm not going to quit. But I said, I just feel in my spirit that God's going to call me out. And so I've been telling him that for 5 years. I've been journaling it for 5 years. And then lo and behold, last year, the opportunity came up and I looked at him and I was like, it's not the way I expected or planned or anything, but here we are. And so, I am a recently published author. I have 2 new books out that just were published on December 30th. My first one is Breakdown Better, 52 Restoring Devotionals for Burned Out Women. And that one was published through Trilogy Christian Publishing through TBN. And then alongside that, I also self-published a companion journal called A Better Way, and that goes with the devotional. So it's for those folks that want to dive deeper into why they suffered burnout and breakdown in the first place and kind of get really, really down in the weeds with the Lord and come out fully restored, and hence the word better. And so those came out. I'm currently doing a book launch and doing all the things. It's a lot of work, but I am just having a great time. And, the funny thing is I'd been working on these books for so long, but once I was released from that very demanding career, I got these things done. God just really downloaded in me and got them done and published before the end of the year. So praise God.
Yay.
Awesome. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, is it 52 devotionals for you can do one a week for the whole year basically?
I put that in the book actually because I want, and it is for women. Let me just say this. It does say that it is for burned out women. I'm a woman, and this book comes from so much of my experience. And I talk about that in the introduction about my breakdown that I had. But I really want the folks that get a copy of this book to do it at whatever pace feels good for them. So I chose 52 for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I feel like the target audience are people like me, and they're very busy, they're very career driven, they have families, they're doing all the things, and they don't have time to read a thick self-help book. They're struggling and they need answers and they need them now. And so 52 days, I believe that Nehemiah rebuilt the cities burned down gates and broken down walls with God's help and favor. He did it in 52 days. So I feel like if he can do that in 52 days, then we can go through 52 devotionals, either one a day, or if you want to dive in deeper, you can grab the companion journal with it and you can do it over the course of a week. And so it kind of really depends on you. If you want that fast, nugget in the morning for 52 days, you can do it in 52 days, or you can draw it out over an entire year and just dive deep.
Nice. Yeah.
So
I'll just say this. It couldn't have come at a more perfect time because I'm definitely feeling the burnout. I had pre-ordered the book, or I pre-ordered it after we had talked to you, but it's not supposed to be here until January 13th. So I'm a little sad, but I'm excited to get it because I definitely need it.
Well, Michelle, I know you're sad, and that makes me sad for you, but I'm going to say this because I've had so many people reach out to me, about supply and demand. So apparently, I'm just like, okay, apparently there's a few more orders than was thought.
That's awesome.
And so they had to go back to the distributor and have them printed. Print more copies. And so praise the Lord.
That's awesome.
I know. So I'm so torn because I've had so many people reach out to me and they're like, Vivian. And I'm like, I know, but yay.
Yes, yay.
Sorry, but God is doing amazing things. And so I'm very, thank you for supporting me with getting the book.
A good way to work on patience.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's a good problem to have, right? Like, I don't have enough because I sold them all out.
Yes. That's right. Oh, and you know what, Michelle? I don't know if you follow me on my socials, but I did make an announcement on there. So if you go to my website, viviancumins.com, you can download the first day. So you get the first day, and then as a freebie, you also get the first day journal awesome. As well. So you can at least get through the first day. You can draw it out if you need to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
And it's only 7 days. I mean, you can wait 7 more days.
Yeah, I can wait 7 days. I might be burned out by the end of 7 days, but I can do it.
Yeah, you waited this long. What's 7 more days? So I have a question though. So burned out women. Interesting that you're here because we actually had started this series where we were talking about women in the Bible and their roles in life and what they were doing, and then I don't want to say get derailed because that sounds negative. But we got stopped because we started having guests come on. And so my question for you is burned out. What was that? Like, what was the inspiration for that? So you get burned out. I mean, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Obviously there's the clinical. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor or anything. So there is obviously a clinical definition of burnout. And it actually really started with working with people in the workplace. People were becoming burned out. They were becoming to where they were sick a lot. They were using a lot of leave and things like that. And so that's kind of where burnout started, I think, in society, but it has really crept into the lives of men and women. So I know, like I said, it's a book for women, but I've actually had a couple of men read it and they're like, you know what, this is for dudes too. And I'm like, I agree. Just put your little finger over the woe and there you have it, And so, but it really stems from, in my opinion, and what God uncovered for me was where I was just living a life of imbalance, and I was going into extremes of working too much, volunteering too much, spending too much time with my husband and no time with the kids. I mean, it was just doing too much of one thing and never feeling like I was ever doing enough. And so when you continue live in that rhythm, you get exhausted, you get mentally exhausted, you get physically exhausted. And I was even spiritually exhausted, and because a lot of the things that I was doing with the church. At the time that I had the most severe breakdown that actually led to my journey, which led to this book, I was volunteering at church. I was helping lead praise and worship. I was on the praise and worship team. I was the leader of something called Women at Risk International, and it was we worked with trafficked women. and help them get a like a trade. They learned how to make jewelry and stuff, and then we helped them sell the jewelry and stuff, just kind of help them get a trade and be able to support themselves. So I was a leader doing that, was a full-time federal employee, and I was like putting together 5Ks on the weekend. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And I mean, I was doing all of that in the name of the Lord. And then when I look back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, God wasn't asking me to do any of that. That was all me, you know? And so that's kind of where I was like, okay, I'm even burned out with the Lord, actually. But, you know, it really wasn't even him asking me to do it. It was me feeling like I needed to.
Mm-hmm. Were you running the 5Ks too, or just organizing them?
Oh, I was.
Wow.
Yes, I was running them. I'd get everybody. I'd like, everybody get down here for the start and, you know, do the whole thing. And then, of course, I had to run faster than everybody so that I could be at the front when they got done. So I could give out the things and stuff. And so I was in really good shape physically. I just, mentally, I was a mess.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, you came up with the marketing slogan for men. I don't know if you realize that.
What's that?
Put your finger over the woe.
I love that. I think we should sell T-shirts.
You should. You absolutely should. Like when you said that, I was like, oh, that's actually a great statement. Put the finger over the woe.
I know. I interviewed on my own podcast, one of my colleagues. He's been a very good friend of mine for so many years. We worked together, and he's like, I want to read your book. So I gave him a copy, you know, and he was one of the ones that was kind of like a beta reader. And he's like, you know, Viv, men break down and have burnouts. Men burn out and break down too. And I was like, that's another good slogan. Men break down too. You know, I'm like, I'm just coming up with all of these cool things.
There you go. Add that to your title. It's not just for women.
That's right. That's right. I know. It's true.
All right. So you get burned out, and then so at what point in your life, like you get to this low point, and then what happens?
You want to know what happened to me, or are you saying what happens after you get to the low point?
Well, both.
I can tell you what. Okay. I can tell you what happened to me. So,
and then, and how'd you recover? Like, how'd you come out on the other side?
Mm-hmm. So for me, it was in 2020. And oh my gosh, you guys, I was getting to the point where I couldn't even stand myself. I knew that I was bringing so much of this on myself, and I didn't know how to stop. It was almost like an addiction. The overworking. I mean, I was such a workaholic, and I have since learned, I'll just sidebar this, and that's what I hope that the book does for others as well, is I have since learned the why behind all of that behavior. And that was part of my journey, what God was trying to show me and teach me through all of these years. And that's what I try to take women through as they're going through this devotional and the journal, is to understand the why behind it. But anyways, I digress. And so anyways, I had gotten to the point where I was just so mentally and physically exhausted, and I fell to my knees on my living room floor, and I was just begging God to take my life. And because I knew myself well enough to know that all of this was self-inflicted, and I didn't know how to stop it, and I just didn't want to live anymore. Since I couldn't fix it, you might as well just take me home, because I'm a mess. And in my spirit, it's kind of crazy. I feel like I felt it and heard it. God say, hold on, I'm going to restore you. And I didn't really understand what that meant. I know what the word restore means, but it's just not something that I, think about or thought about. And so I just kind of sit up a little bit, and I was like, okay, God, whatever you have to do in me, I'm all in. Just do something. And so that very moment, I'd grown up in church. I knew by saying I was all in, it was a total surrender. And I knew enough to know that it was going to be hell for me moving forward. And I immediately went into a wilderness season, because, in order to fix all of the brokenness, I needed to go through some things. And so the wilderness season started with my parents becoming ill. My dad got cancer. My mom got diabetes. I mean, and I'm one of those people, I'm very protective of my parents. And so, any type of attack on my parents is very difficult for me because I can't control it, And so that was one of the things God was allowing to happen in my life because I had such a grasp on control. And for me to be used by God, I needed to release that control. And so things kind of were happening with them that I had no control over and had to get through those things. Then my own health started being attacked. And there was one day that I had a spot on my nose and I went in to see a dermatologist because it wouldn't go away. And was kind of vain. I was like, I'm not having this spot on my face. You need to get rid of it. So I go in and he's like, you know what, Viv, that's just a capillary. It'll go, you can laser it or whatever. But since you're here, you paid your copay. Let's do a full body scan, check you out. And I said, whatever. So he did, and he found a spot on my left shin that was about the size of an eraser head, and it was kind of a purple color, and it had been there for 2 years, and I'd had it looked at and was told it was nothing. And he immediately biopsied that, and about 2 days later, I'm still going through a lot of the anxiety and the stress and all the things. I mean, I surrendered, but that didn't mean I was healed, right? So I'm still stressing out, still working. I'm in my home office because I was a remote worker at the time, and I passed out. And my heart had started beating really, really fast, and so I fainted. And I woke up and drove myself to the ER, which I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have called my husband. I know. I'm like, but I did. So I drive myself to the emergency room, and I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. And so, of course, they whisk me in. I'm in a room. They're giving me baby aspirin and everything. While I'm being hooked up to all of these machines, thinking I potentially had a heart attack, I get a call from the dermatologist. And he says, Vivian, you have stage 3, potentially stage 4 melanoma. We are sending you to Huntsman Cancer Institute, and you have an appointment tomorrow. I'm like, wow. I think I just had a heart attack, and now you're telling me I have malignant melanoma? Like, what is happening right now? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Long story short, did not have a heart attack. I had like PVCs where you have the extra heartbeat and stuff. And it was just really, it's something that I'd had apparently my whole life, but the stress and anxiety and everything I was going through was just making it worse. And ended up going to Huntsman Cancer Institute, and I ended up having 3 surgeries and a reconstructive surgery on my leg. But then it was during that time, again, wilderness, God's really working on me because, again, I don't have control over this. And I have always been an active dreamer, like I have dreams when I sleep. But God really started speaking to me. I'd never heard him speak to me until this time in my life. And I was being prepared by my medical team that the cancer had already spread because I had had it so long. And it wasn't showing on the outside. The reason why it wasn't showing as anything on the outside is because it was growing down deep into my muscle, into my bone, and spreading that way. And so they were preparing me. And so it took 14 days for the pathology report to come back to see if it had invaded my lymphatic system. And so for 14 days, I did not know what my fate was. And so me and God got real close during that time, closer than I had ever been. And I remember I kept praying for negatives because we had done a whole bunch of different, we had done like some bone scans and things like that. And I was asking God, please let those tests be negative. Let them be negative. And so my prayer was asking God for negatives. And there was one night that I had a dream, and it was so incredibly vivid. And I was holding a manila envelope, and it was full of negatives. Like back when you used to have cameras, real cameras with film, you would take the film in, you would get them developed, and they would come out on these little copper-colored strips called negatives.
That was
and
really
in this
a thing,
dream,
Michelle and Grace. Just
it
so you
was
know.
really a thing, y'all.
Ron, I'm sick. I'm sick of this. I grew up going to like
Sorry.
CVS and Walgreens and getting like photos about.
She knows what negatives are.
Yeah, just, you know.
Oh my gosh. No. But it was just full of negatives. And so in my dream, I'm just like, I'm laughing. I'm like, I know that this is a good thing. And then I hold them up to the light because that's how you would know back, you know, what the picture is on there. I would hold it up and I saw all of my family were in the negatives. My husband, our kids, our grandkids, they're all laughing and smiling, but I'm not in any of these photographs. And I woke up and my pillow was just soaked with tears. Apparently I'd been either sweating or crying or both, but I had so much peace because what God was telling me in that moment was, I got this no matter what happens, whether you're not in those photographs because you're home with me or you're not in there because you're taking the picture, whatever reason is, you and your family are going to be okay. And so I had total peace with whatever needed to happen at that point. And then I ended up getting the call 10 days. It didn't take the full 14. It was 10 days. And they had called and they had said I was cancer free, that it had not traveled, and that, you know, the surgeries, they were rough, but that's all I would need to do is just heal now from the surgeries. And so today I'm cancer free still. And so that was just that was the start. I mean, just all of these things. It's kind of like a Job story, you know, where Satan had asked God if he could, you know, do these things and have these things happen to Job. That's kind of what was happening with me, because it was building my trust and faith in God, and it was also teaching me how to give up control. And so I'll just kind of stop there because that's kind of the part one. So it's been a long 5 years, y'all.
Right. Did that all happen in 2020, or was it like kind of into 2021 as well?
It was into 2021. 2020, I mean, we all know that was the COVID year. So
yeah.
That was when we were dealing with COVID. That's when I was dealing with my parents being ill. Social unrest was a big thing in the area that I was living in. My husband's job at the time, he had a pretty influential job, and so he was in the middle of a lot of that, which kind of was scary. And then on top of that, we had like a 5.7 earthquake. I mean, it was just everything. So that was 2020, and then rolling into 21 is my cancer journey, and that lasted through October. So the whole year through October, was dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
So were you remote before 2020?
I was not. So no. So we became remote about the end of March, I guess. Once COVID kind of really made its entrance, they sent us home. Those of us who were not field going in the Forest Service, we were sent home. And so, and so from 2020 up until I retired, I was a remote worker. And that's the second part of my story, is the isolation, because I have a very strong type A personality and I love people and I love to talk. And during that time, like right after the cancer journey, I got cleared from my doctors because my husband got a job offer in California. And it was a really good opportunity for him. And I was remote, so I could go. And so I got cleared by my cancer team, and we moved to California. We left my friends, we left our church, we left the kids, we left the grandkids, we left a great house, we left a lot. And we were living in Utah at the time, and we had been stationed there with the Air Force for 9 years, and then we had come back, and then we were on our 10th year of living there. So a total of, almost 19 years or so. So that had become kind of like home, we'd lived there almost as long as we lived in Oklahoma growing up. And so we left, and I was a remote worker. And then now I found myself sitting behind a laptop, and all of my employees were scattered across the United States. My, headquarters was in DC. I had no friends here. I knew nobody, and I didn't even have time to get to know anybody because I worked so much. And so I was, behind a laptop 10 hours a day, and then you get off work, you go in the kitchen, you make dinner, and then you go to bed. And that's been my life since we've lived here. And so I got into, now we're talking spiritual warfare. So you had the whole wilderness thing. Now I'm spiritual warfare because I'm going through a horrendous depression. And I never, I never grieved the cancer thing. That was one of the things that kind of I had to work through. Is I had a lot of I don't know the word. What is it when you survive survivor's guilt? I had a lot of survivor's guilt. It's crazy as it sounds. You would think I would be thankful that my journey wasn't that bad, but I had survivor's guilt because going through that journey, I met a lot of people who did not have the same outcome as me. And so I was feeling kind of a way about that. And then the depression thing and the isolation thing. And so it just was a dark cloud over me since we'd moved here. And so, I mean, it's like, and the thing is that I grew up in church, and this whole time I was in my Bible and I'm still praying. And that's one of the things I want to tell your listeners is when you're going through it, when you're going through your breakdowns or your burnout or spiritual warfare, whatever it is, you've got to keep your eyes on Jesus, because that's the only way you're going to get through it. And there were days I didn't want to talk to him because I was mad at him for letting this stuff continue to happen. But I knew there was a purpose behind it. I've always known that. And so I've been able to keep my wits about me this whole time. But it's been a struggle. And so, and during this time, I'm writing, right? I'm writing, and I'm writing down in my journals. I'm lamenting. I'm doing all of these things, and those stories, some are funny, some are nostalgic, some are heart-wrenching, but they became breakdown better. And so God had a purpose in all of that. And I noticed, during that time, since I couldn't have community during that time, I had a lot of community friends online. So I joined a couple of ladies groups and stuff like that. And we would get on these calls, and I would hear the same stories, like of the same things, of these ladies going through things that I'd been through and going through burnout and all these things. And I'm like, okay, God has a message, and I'm just so incredibly honored and humbled that he allowed that message to come through me. I mean, it's still very, I can't believe it. It's very surreal, but all of that to say there was a reason for it, So, and now we have these 2 books that are in the world, and I know God has specific women that he wants to speak to through them.
Or men.
Or men. Whoa, men.
Put your finger on the whoa.
So then how long were you writing the book for? Or like when did that start?
So I'm a storyteller, y'all. I'm sorry. I told y'all I could talk. Y'all know I need some friends. Yeah. Y'all are my friends now.
No problem.
So I actually started writing in December of 28. Excuse me, let me back up. December 2018 is when I started writing, okay? And I felt that I was called to write my husband's story because he has this amazing story. And I've always said, dude, that needs to be a Netflix or a novel or something. This is, he's an ex-motocross racer. He used to have a guardian angel that would visit him every time he would wreck. And it's just such a cool, neat story. And so he's like, I've been thinking about that too. I even have a name for the title. So I was like, okay, I'm supposed to write my husband's story. So from 2018 to 2020, that's what I wrote. And I had I'd hired a writing coach, and we were like 300 pages in. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what God's calling me to do. And then everything just blew up, all the things. And then once we moved here to California, I started having like really bad writer's block. I couldn't form 2 sentences to save my life. And I had so much brain fog and everything. And my husband says, babe, I'm wondering if you're not supposed to write your journey first. And I was like, maybe. And then that's when I set his story down. And it made me sick to do that because I have a whole binder, and it's right there. It's right there on my shelf. And it's like, finish me. And so I set it aside and I said, okay, God, what do you want to do? And then he just kind of started leading me to people, new writing coaches and stuff like that, that said, you have a gift of devotion writing and storytelling. And so, have you ever thought about writing devotionals? And I said, no. And so I got some training on that. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the YouVersion app.
Mm-hmm.
But she said, we can get you hooked up and submit some to YouVersion, see if they'll accept some of your devotions. And so I did, and they published 5. And I'm like, okay. So I think maybe I can do this. And so that's when I started. I went back through all my journals, and I'm like, I got a lot of devotionals here, And so then I just kind of started writing from there, and then God just really started downloading.
That's awesome.
So when you were writing these stories, did you tie them to a scripture? I mean, how do you like when you say devotional writing? Like, how does one become a?
Yeah. So with devotions, there's always that anchor scripture, and then a story or antidote or something, and then I always end mine with a prayer. And there's usually a message that's tied into it. The message, the story, and the scripture all kind of tied together. And for me, what was downloaded in me first was the name of each day. Like day 1 in Breakdown Better is after a little while. And I'm like, okay, that's 1 Peter 5:10. After we've suffered a little while, God will himself restore us. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what he was telling me in that moment on the floor, right? And then after all of that, yes, I had to suffer for a while, but in God's eyes, I mean, it's just a little while. For me, it was 5 years. But in God's, I mean, that's just a little vapor to him. And so that's kind of how it came to me, was the titles of each day kind of came to me. And then I would like, okay, I want to write this story. And the second day is called Hold On. And the second day, I talk about a childhood memory of my little grade school friend where we were both on a merry-go-round and I flew off. And my little friend Nathan came and got me, said, you're going to be okay, got me back on the merry-go-round and put his hand over mine, his right hand. It's very important. His right hand over mine, and said, hold on, you're going to be okay. And so then I'm like, okay, what's that scripture? I got to look it up because I can't remember all of them. Then a scripture came to me for day 2, and that is Psalm 63:8, where it says, I cling to you, your right hand upholds me. And so it was just things like that, that God was just downloading. And then I'm like, okay. And then you tell that story, and then end it in a prayer.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to know the Bible that well too, with all those scriptures, is fascinating.
Well, and that's what I did for all this time. And again, that was that preparation. The wilderness season, the spiritual warfare season, all of that is preparation, because I have never been immersed in scripture like I was over the past 5 years. And sometimes I just kind of was saying that this morning in my prayer time. I don't want to go through any bad things again, but I miss that intimacy that I had with God during the time that I was really struggling, because I've never been that close to him. And I feel myself sometimes, I miss you, God. And I'm the one that's shifting, not him. He's still there. So that's one of those things where I talk a lot about imbalance in my books. That's one of those things that's the extreme. Sometimes I catch myself going into the extreme. I have been so, laser focused on book launch that I haven't been in the Word like I, was. And so I recognize that now. And that's what these books are. My hope is that people will do as well, is that they'll learn to recognize the extremes and the imbalance that they have in their life, so that they can catch it early, and then pull back and recalibrate and get back on track.
So you mentioned spiritual warfare. Like, this is a topic that's near and dear to me, because I'm fascinated by spiritual warfare. What was that like for you? Like, can you describe, like, you say you were under attack. What was like, what made you think, okay, I got these spirits that are attacking me? And
A couple of things. I was having dreams. I was having. I had one. I'll just tell y'all one. One really vivid dream was I was in a street and there was an enormous snake, and I had just slayed the snake or whatever, and I had it by the tail, and somebody on the street said, "Watch out," and I turned around and the snake bowed up on me, and then I woke up. That was the moment that I was kind of coming out of a wilderness season. You know, the cancer thing had subsided, things were kind of mellowing out there, and then I had this dream, and I knew that was a dream telling me to prepare. I woke up one night. This is just so crazy, but I woke up one night just hollering the words "return to sender," and I didn't know where that would even come from. So then I started studying about that in return to sender prayers. It's, you know, when you start feeling attacked, the Satan's arrows start coming to you, return to sender, so they go back the other way. And so I started, you know, just speaking that stuff out loud, that no, you're not welcome here, you know, things like that. And so I knew that I was about to have to go into battle. I just knew it. And so for me, it was, first of all, it was isolation. The isolation was the worst for me. For my personality, the worst thing you could do is isolate me. And my husband, you know, he's a general manager for a transit company here. And so he works a tremendous amount of hours. And so even he wasn't home. So, I mean, I'm like by myself. I have nobody here. It's me and God. And so the isolation then grew into depression. You know, I started missing the family. I started feeling a little sorry for myself, having some pity parties and things like that. With depression often comes bad habits. Like for me, it was overeating. So I started to gain weight. I gained 30 pounds when we moved here. And, you know, I have a little thing with vanity. And so I was really starting to feel really bad about myself about that. But I couldn't get out of it. You know, I just was depressed and tired. And I'm a lady in my 50s, so I'll just let you do the math there. Things like that start happening to you. That doesn't help. So all of that just contributed to just depression and not feeling worthy. And then I would have stupid thoughts about my husband doesn't love me anymore. I mean, it's just stupid. It's just Satan just putting these, you know, you're fat, you're stupid, you know, all of these things. It was just Satan putting those thoughts into my head. And I just knew it was him. I just knew it was him. But I was also, I was having a hard time coming out of it, you know. But every day I got up, got dressed, got ready, did all the things, and just kept fighting through, putting on the armor every single day. And I just fought through it, but it was not easy, but I lamented a lot. I learned what it means to lament. And I didn't really even understand that word until, you know, the last few years. And, I've learned that it's okay. It's okay to cry out to God like that and express your frustration and your confusion and your worry and all of those things, because he was the only one here to comfort me. And so I learned to just give it to him. So the hard way.
Yeah.
The hard way.
How would you describe a wilderness season for our listeners who might not know what that means? Because I know it's more of a biblical term.
It is a biblical term. So without giving a whole Bible lesson, but the Israelites, when they were led out of Egypt, went into a wilderness, and it was a time, you know, the fun fact about that, it was a journey to the promised land. It was supposed to only be a short journey, but it ended up taking them forever. And a lot of that is because they complained and they weren't counting their blessings, and God was providing for them the whole way. But scripture also does say that God led them in the wilderness. And so God needed to isolate them. He needed to have them there so they could become humble and to rely on him and to be thankful for the things and the provision and stuff that he's been given them. And so that's kind of what it was for me, is being led into this season where I had to rely on God for my provision and my strength and safety and health and everything. It's just, and y'all, I had such a hard time with pride. And again, that kind of goes back a long ways. There's reasons for that too. I struggled with control and perfectionism and pride and things like that. This time where I say I'm in the wilderness, God was showing me so many areas of my life that I needed to come up higher. But he does it in such a gentle way. I mean, I'll give you a little example. So I struggle with perfectionism, and because I do that, that was a lot of what led to my burnout. And people who have a hard time giving up control, a lot of the reasons for that is because there's something in their life. There's a reason for that, right? And so I struggled with perfectionism. My dad is a perfectionist and always trying to do everything to meet standard. That's a lot of pressure for a child. And so when I was 5 years old, I have this very vivid memory of being in kindergarten, and I'm trying to lay my mat down and it won't lay flat. It keeps rippling, and I keep fanning it over and over and over because it won't lay perfectly. And my teacher tells me, if you do that one more time, I'm going to give you a spanking. And I remember just being so angry, that I had to settle for mediocrity. And so anyway, so God kind of brought that to memory so that I would have compassion for myself. The way I am, it was kind of, a lot of it had to do with my environment and the way I was raised and stuff. But that doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement, and he could help me, improve with that. And so anyways, perfectionism and control and pride, all of those things needed to be dealt with. And the only way that they could be dealt with was in this, what I call my wilderness season. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My answers are long. Sorry.
No.
Love it.
It's story time.
It's all part of it, yeah.
So I have you keep mentioning dreams. And the reason why I bring this up, because we've now you're like the third or fourth guest that has talked about dreams. What's that?
I said I knew this was coming.
Yeah. And it's just like, so Grace, if there's a resident SME for dreams, it would be Grace.
Yeah.
And I've never really thought about it, right? But this studies that I've been doing recently, it starts talking about dreams and how to get into this lucid dream state. So I've never been there, or at least I can't remember. And so when you guys describe these dreams, so you say you had this dream about the negatives, you had the dream about the snake. Do you commonly have these lucid dreams?
So I've always had dreams. I've always had dreams and remembered my dreams, and they would always be just nothing big, It would just be normal stuff. But these types of dreams I did not start having until when I was diagnosed with cancer. That's the first dream that I had, was the negatives, and that was the very first one I had. And there's been a lot of them since. And that's, and my husband is the same way as you, Ron. He's had a couple of dreams in the last 5 years where he's been like, hey, babe, I had this dream. He never remembers anything. But when he does remember them, I'm writing it down, and I'm asking him 10 million questions. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, ooh, this one's good. This one's prophecy, or whatever. But for me, that's how God has been speaking to me. And you have to be careful. I mean, I do ask God to please, if I'm supposed to discern what it means, to help me discern what it means and not make up stuff in my own head. But the ones that I have had, I absolutely know what they mean, and I know what they stand for. Some of the dreams I've had, I have a series of dreams with a specific person who is a celebrity. I won't say who it is, but can I tell y'all really quick, kind of, sort of? I'll
Sure.
tell you a little bit.
Yeah.
I won't tell you who it is though, because he'll be like, ooh, weirdo. So I started having dreams about a specific person, and the specific person was helping me in my ministry. Like I was going to this person, and this person was elevating me in ministry. And so I started having this series of dreams of this person. And then lo and behold, I met this person at a writer's conference. Did not know this person was going to be the keynote speaker. And I did not tell them, hey, I've been having dreams about you before I knew who you were, which is kind of, so I didn't tell them that because, again, that would be like super creepy. But for whatever reason, that has been implanted. And so I've got a series of dreams about a person. Don't know what that's going to mean, if anything, ever. And then I've had other dreams about just like, I don't know. It's just almost just kind of telling me things are going to be okay. Like, I know it seems crazy right now, but just hang on because this is, da, 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 da. And so they're just very vivid, very, very vivid. And I love it because I usually get up when I wake up and I write them down immediately so I don't forget. And since it's the new year, I am going back through all of my journals and just kind of seeing kind of what the patterns have been. And some of them I'm like, oh, yeah. Ooh, okay. Yeah. I can see where God weaved that into my life last year. So it's just kind of neat. And I'm sorry, Ron, if you don't have those dreams. But I mean, I'm sure he speaks to you in other ways.
It's probably because I'm old and I just don't remember.
Well, I'm old too, but I don't know.
So
For me, I have to be asleep, because my mind's always just going. My husband teases me and says I have a film crew in my head that goes to work when I dream. They're like, okay, action.
Yeah.
So that's my problem. I just need to hire a film crew when I sleep.
There you go.
Yeah. A virtual one, right?
Yeah. You can always try a little prayer or something, before bed. Like.
Okay, but what do you pray about?
Asking. Like, you ask God to maybe, like, show you information that you might need to know in your dreams, or if there's something along those lines,
Okay, so interesting. Well, it's interesting you say that, right? So, like, oh my gosh, we could go in so many directions here. So on this journey that we've been on, this series, we started, so we kind of got stuck on Mary Magdalene. And this has led, like, for me personally, has led to this whole new discovery of Christianity that I did not even realize existed or what it is even about. And, part of it is grounded in this, what they call Gnostics, right? And so now, my personality is, okay, I can't just read that. I got to know what this means and, like, learn everything about it. So you talk about perfection or being OCD, that's my OCD, right? Like, I just have to know everything. And so, like, I've spent probably the last month researching this. What does this mean? And recently I came across this thing, and it was like, how do you awaken your consciousness? And the guy, he's like this Christian, he's Gnostic, Christian, Buddhist, like all these different things rolled into one. And they said the first way to awaken your consciousness is through dreams. And there's this thing called dream yoga. And I just learned this today, and I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to spend a week learning what the heck is dream yoga, because that's just me.
I've never heard of
right?
it, so.
I've not heard of dream yoga before.
Sounds interesting, though.
Well, it's supposedly a way to, like, train your mind, because what the guy says is, like, so he calls it the astral plane, right? Like, there's this astral plane that we can all access, and we access it through our dreams. And the way you awaken your consciousness is when you can actually interact in your dreams. Like, you're conscious enough to change your dream. So, like, he describes, if you're having a nightmare, right? If you're having a nightmare, well, then you know that it's not real, and you can change the dynamic of the nightmare. Yeah. So this is the dream yoga, right? And I was like, okay, now I got to know more about this.
That doesn't feel very yoga-ish. That feels like a lot of work.
Yeah.
But doesn't it sound interesting?
It does.
Like
That's
if you
very
can,
interesting.
well, and I only bring that up because I know Grace has talked about like having dreams that were so vivid she can remember like actually interacting in the dream. And I'm like, I've never had a dream like that. And I've only met a couple of people who've actually described dreams that way, and you're probably the fourth, you know. So
Oh.
it's just
Well, I
interesting
feel
to me.
very honored now that's a thing for me. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry it's not for you, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I mean, I like, hey, I want to figure out how to, you know, Grace gives me pointers all the time. Oh, just journal. And I'm thinking, man, like, okay, so funny story. I had this dream the other day, and see, now I can't even remember half the details, but I woke up from the dream thinking I should write this down. Like
Yeah.
this was a really profound dream, right? And then I didn't, and now I can't remember half of it. But
See, there you go.
yeah, but
Write
I
it
do remember
down.
Yeah.
I do remember the premise. It was like I was in this dream, and the guy was telling me that I needed to find something, and so I'm dressed up like a spy, right? And I got to open these doors, and I got to find something, and like that's what I remember. Like I'm searching for something in this dream, and then I wake up, you know, and I'm like, okay, so you know, here's me. Like, just take me to the ending. What am I looking for?
Oh man, yeah. There's so many things to unpack there. Oh my gosh, Grace, you need to get with him and.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
a
it sounds
story
like
there.
you're making some progress there with some more dream experience, I guess.
It's probably all your positive influence. That's why. And now you got me thinking about it, right? So like, you know, it's all this, you know, dream yoga. It's dream yoga. That's got me thinking about it, you know.
Because it is like, I feel like everyone does have the capacity to dream and remember their dreams. And if it's not something that does come as natural to you, it is something that you can easily kind of train in a way. So I totally understand like the dream yoga sense of it, I guess, because it is like almost training your subconscious kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna create you into a dream yoga coach.
Oh yeah.
Well, welcome Nick to Faith, where we have a dream yoga coach. You know?
Yeah. I did start transcribing my dreams because I also journal my dreams, Vivian, and I have like over 20 journals over the last 5 years. Just from, I mean, it's like a mix of regular journaling but also mainly dream journaling, and I started kind of transcribing those to my computer just to have them all in one place.
Oh, that's a good idea. I should do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's definitely been an interesting process of like, specifically when I had those dreams, what was going on in my life, and like, oh, I understand certain things, and yeah. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, there's some that I have that I'm just like, Lord, that makes no sense, you know. And so, but I write it down anyways because maybe it will make sense at another time. But I will tell you all this. This is kind of cool. My husband did have a dream a while back ago. It was before I published a book, and he had a dream that he was at work and he had to tell everybody, I got to go because Viv's got a thing. And he shows up at Barnes and Noble. Now, mind y'all, this is before I had a book. He shows up at Barnes and Noble, and you know how you walk in and they always have a display of books? He said there was a display there of books, and they were all mine. And he was very detailed of what the cover looked like. And so he's telling me about I need to go research that. I know there was some pink on it, which that is not the color of my book, but he did say that there were circles on it. And in the cover of my new book, I don't know if y'all can tell, but there are circles in the background, which is kind of cool. But anyways, but then he said that I guess I was doing a book signing or something, and he said he was really proud of me, and he turns around and there I was, and he said, hey babe, I'm so proud of you. And I said, well, they got the cover wrong. And I thought, well, gosh, is that what you think of me? You know, this all complainy or whatever. But anyway, so he had kind of like this vision that, you know, I was going to have this published book. So I thought that was a pretty good one. Yeah. So I'm going to have to go back to find that one and read how close he was to the actual thing. I am going to go to Barnes. My book is in Barnes and Noble, but you got to get it on the shelf. You got to do some finagling. So I do have some appointments with Barnes and Noble to see if I can get it there, but Who knows? I'll
Right.
let y'all know. I'll let
Yes,
y'all
let
know.
us
Yeah.
know.
I'll
Then
send
you're
you
gonna
a
go on a
picture.
tour, right?
I want to. I do want to, but my husband is very business. He's got some good business sense. He's a very, very intelligent business person. And so I get all excited because I'm from Oklahoma. And I said, oh my gosh, baby, I want to do a book tour back home. I want to go home, and I come from a small town in Oklahoma, and the whole town's been cheering for me. They're just, that's my friends and family. And and he's like, how much is it going to cost for a plane ticket? How much is it going to cost for a hotel? How much is it going to cost for that rental car? How are you going to get the books there? And he's like, baby, you got to sell a lot of books to be able to cover the cost of all of that. And I'm like, all right. So I'm looking into seeing if some churches might, be willing to have me come do a speaking engagement or something like that. I do have a message. It's a message on Hannah that ties into my books. And so, if some women's groups or something like that would like to have me come out, maybe I could do that. So
Or how about
Sounds
come
like
back
a
on
good idea.
here and let's talk about Hannah?
I would love that. I love Hannah. You know what? Hannah is my girl. Hannah's my girl. This book, if she was here, I'd give her this book and be like, Hannah.
Well, I mean, we really started this with the series on women in the Bible and what, and I'll say it because I'm a little biased, right? What is the correct interpretation of women's roles in the Bible, right? And so, like I said, we got to Mary Magdalene, then I should say we skipped around. So we didn't do all of the Old Testament, I don't know, for whatever reason, Mary Magdalene was tugging on all of our hearts. And we're like, so we started with Adam and Eve, and then we just kind of really jumped right into Mary Magdalene and well, the Marys. I'll just say the Marys.
The Marys.
Yeah.
And then that's when we started like, it's interesting because things started happening, right? We wanted some guests, and then next thing you know, I'm on these Facebook pages. It's all Michelle's fault. And then, now I start finding all these people that coming on, and now we've got people calling us and saying, hey, we want to be on your podcast, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So like, that's really cool. But
That is great.
yeah,
That's great. But yeah, Hannah, there's a scripture where it talks about, I mean, her soul is weary. And that's kind of one of the taglines I have, are you tired and not just tired, but soul tired? And the women who are soul tired, that's who this book is for. And Hannah was soul tired, And so, yeah. And the other thing, and I don't want to give away that message because I want people to ask me to come speak at their engagements. But
Yes.
but at the end of that, she tells people. She tells people what happened and her journey and stuff like that. And that's what I say in my book and in my journal is once you get through this, once God restores you, don't keep it to yourself. You've got a testimony now, share it with others because what you've gone through and how you got through it is exactly what she needs and so forth. So share it. Tell people what God has done.
absolutely. And that's really the premise behind this podcast was to, people like you have stories to share, and it's going to resonate with someone, Absolutely. So,
Yep.
hey, you could get an RV. Here's an idea for you. Get an RV.
Fill it up with books.
Fill it up with books, and then you have it wrapped with your face on the side and your
I
book.
love
You know what I
it.
mean? And then you just drive, and as you're
love
driving
it.
to Oklahoma, you stop at churches and you preach, and then you get back in your RV and you keep going.
I love it. I love
We have
that.
some land here in Virginia. You're more than welcome to park
I'll
your
hook
RV.
up. I'll just
Yeah.
hook
Oh, yeah,
it up
yeah.
in your driveways. I'll just come to y'all's
Absolutely.
house.
Well, no,
Absolutely.
like I was gonna say, this land, my brother built it so that he could park his RV out there. So
Ah.
So
it's
it's
got all the
already-
hookups, everything. It's ready to go.
Wow.
You're onto something there because, then you don't have to worry about drop shipping a bunch of books or mailing them back. You just throw them in the RV.
Exactly.
You're onto something there.
Storage
You
underneath.
get a fun little road trip.
Yeah, you
Yes,
go on a
one
road
little
trip.
road trip. That's true. I love it. I love
And when
it.
you
I
get
wanna
tired,
pitch
you
that
just
to
pull
my
off the side of the
husband.
road, take a nap. Good deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
I love
Got a bed
it.
in the back, bathroom. You're all good.
Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, we'll consider that.
Yeah. Yeah, your husband was like, "You're not going on that podcast again."
He's like, "Who are these people? What have they done?"
Right.
Oh my.
I love it.
All right. Well, we are at an hour, and we really appreciate your time. Your story is amazing, and I really
Thank you.
appreciate your sharing. And I'm actually serious about if you would be interested, we could definitely do a episode on Hannah and have
would
you
love
come
that.
and lead that. That would be really cool.
I would love that.
So awesome. All right.
Yeah, thank you for coming onto our podcast. So.
Yes,
Thank you for
Absolutely.
having me. Thank you so much. And thank you for being so accommodating. I know I had to switch some dates on y'all. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem at all. Yeah. No
Yeah.
problem at all.
Can I give a pitch for my book one last time?
I was going to say, before we
Absolutely.
go, we were
Please
going to
do.
say, you know,
Yeah,
you want to
yeah,
socials,
absolutely.
your book, your whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
Everything.
No, I got to do the things. Okay, so folks can follow me on my website, and it's viviancumins.com. And you can link over to the books there if you want to, but they are available, both of them. Breakdown Better and A Better Way are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart, and then any retail stores can get them for you as well. And so my podcast is called Juggling Life, Finding Balance. And we've got about 62 episodes out there. Things kind of like you guys, things kind of slowed down over the holidays, but we're going to pick it back up. And we do a fun little segment there called Sister Talk with Viv and Becca. And so I believe, and I tell in my books, that there's 3 pillars to having a balanced life, and that's putting God first, taking care of yourself, and having fun. And the Sister Talk is kind of just a fun little segment where she and I get together and we're just silly and talk about all the things. And so that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be recording on Friday. So hopefully people will join us on that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
All right.
And then you can find us on Facebook and YouTube and all the socials. Just come join us on the conversation and check out this episode and all of our other episodes on Spotify.
All right.
All right.
See you next
Thank
week.
you for listening.
See you next week.
Bye.